Hey, boys and girls, it's Mr. Mac. Today we're going to be working on fractional line plots. You may have seen some line plots before, but this time we're going to be dealing with fractions, which makes it a little bit more difficult. I'm going to go over the key points of fractional line plots that you need to understand to be able to complete your exit ticket and your homework assignment for today. Okay, so I have some data here. It says Charles poured different amounts of milk into some bowls. Show the amount of milk on the line plot. So with a line plot, we have the title underneath. That's our title. Okay. We have our axis right here as well. That is called our axis. I'll leave that as AXIS. Okay. And I'll actually spell this out as title so we can see that as well. Okay. And then all of these numbers on here are based on the title. They're different amounts of milk in pints. So this would be 1/8 pint, 1/4 pint, 3/8 pint, 1/2 pint, 5/8 pint, 3/4 pint, 7/8 pint, and 1 pint. They are all organized from least to greatest. Now, if you wanted to check, a common denominator for all these would be 8. So this would be 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, and 8/8. All right. So we have this information here, and it's the bowls of milk in pints in this table. We need to put them on our line plot. So every time you see a number, you're going to put an X above that number. So we have 1/8 right here. I'm going to cross that out and put an X above that 1/8. I have 1/4. I'm going to cross that out and put an X above the 1/4. A 1/2. I'm going to cross out the 1/2 and put an X above that. The 1/4 again. Now I have another 1/4, so I'm going to put that above the 1/4 there. All right. I have 1/8 again, so I'm putting an X above the 1/8. 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. So again, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. So when I look at this data really quickly, I can tell that when we're pouring these bowls, I'm going to have 2 bowls that have 1/8 pint. I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bowls with 1/4 pint, and I'm going to have 1 bowl here with 1/2 pint. That is how we fill in a line plot, and that's kind of what each of the X's are going to represent on that line plot. So question number 2 says, what is the total amount of milk that Charles poured? So in order to find this out, we're going to have to add all of these amounts of each of these X's together. So if I have 1/8 and 1/8, that's going to give me 2/8. Okay. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the fourths. So that's going to give me 5/4. And then I have 1/2. So then I have 1/2. So I have to add these numbers together. And it's been a while since we've done adding of fractions. So we could find the common denominator for all of these, which for 8, 4, and 2 would be 8. So I'll leave that as an 8, 8, and an 8. Okay, this was already 2/8. So I did 4 times 2 to get 8. So I do 5 times 2 to give me 10. And then I did 2 times 4 to get 8. So 1 times 4 is 4. So when I add these all up, I know that I'm going to have that common denominator stay the same, which is 8. And then I'm adding my numerators. 2 plus 10 is 12, plus 4 is 16. And we've talked about fractions as division. 16 divided by 8 equals 2. So what is the total amount of milk poured? It would be 2 pints. Okay, so 2 pints. Now, another way you could do this as well, and some people prefer this, is by saying, okay, well, I know that 2/4 is a half. And if I add this and this, that's going to give me 1 whole. And then this would be 3/4. And then this would be 2/8. So then you could do just the 2 numbers of the 3/4 and the 2/8. If you can find parts of these fractions that you can combine easily to make whole numbers or fractions that are easier to deal with, that's totally fine. Another way that it could have been done instead of just adding those 2 together is saying, okay, I know that 4/4 equals 1 whole. So you might take those 4/4 and say, okay, that's 1 whole. And then you have 1/2 plus 1/4. You might know that that's again 3/4. And then you could add the 2/8. It's the same idea. But again, any way that you can add them together would be, that would be easier for you. Go ahead and do that. Or you can follow the steps like I did down here which will tell you the total amount that was poured. Now, question number 3 is worded very strangely, but don't let it confuse you. It says, if Charles redistributed the milk equally among the bowls, how much milk would he pour into each bowl? So again, he's redistributing the milk. That just means he's sharing the milk, but he's doing it equally, right? That's the key word we're looking at this time. In this problem, we had an eighth here, an eighth here, a fourth 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 here, and a half there. When they're talking about redistributing equally, that means if we were going to find the average per bowl, how would we do that? Well, we take our total, which was 2, and we're going to divide that by however many bowls we have. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bowls. So we have 2 eighths there. I'm sorry, 2 divided by 8. And if I know, again, fractions as division, that's the same as saying 2 over 8, which is 2 eighths, which would equal 1/4. Okay, so then if they redistributed them equally, it would be 1/4 pint per bowl. So again, anytime you're finding the average or you're redistributing equally, you're taking the total and you're dividing it by the groups. How many groups? And in this problem, we had 8 bowls. So that's how we would find the amount each would get if it was redistributed equally. Okay, so those are the big points for today's lesson and the things that you'll need for completing the exit ticket and the homework. Again, your data is going to be organized here from least to greatest. Okay, and if you aren't sure how to organize them from least to greatest, you could always, again, find the common denominator, which in this problem would be 8, and then you could list them all straight across. With your interval in this problem, you're increasing by 1/8. You always want to try and increase by the same amount. You're not really going to be creating too many of them today. Really, you're going to be filling them in and reading them and trying to find the total amount, which is, not just adding how many x's, but adding the values when each one of these x's is worth a certain amount. If they wanted to know how many bowls or how many objects we were using in the line plot, that's when you count the x's to see how many x's I have. But if they want to know the total amount shown, that's when you're looking at the data on the bottom and the x's together and saying each x above these numbers on our axis represent a certain amount. Okay. Hopefully this will help you with today's exit ticket and with today's lesson. If not, I'll be back tomorrow and we'll be able to work on it. All right. Good luck, guys.